Hello, bruvs. We're back with Black No More, which is a black sci-fi fiction book from 1931 by the Macaulay Company, and obviously it's by George S. Schuyler. The preface. Over 20 years ago, a gentleman in Asbury Park, New Jersey, began manufacturing and advertising a preparation for the immediate and unfailing straightening of the most stubborn Negro hair. This preparation was called Kink No More, a name not wholly accurate since users of it were forced to renew the treatment every fortnight. During the intervening years, many chemists, professional and amateur, have been seeking the menus of making the downtrodden Afro-American resemble as closely as possible his white fellow citizens. The temporarily effective preparations placed on the market have so far proved exceedingly profitable to manufacturers, advertising agencies, Negro newspapers, and beauty culturists, while millions of users have registered great satisfaction at the opportunity to rid themselves of kinky hair and grow several shades lighter in color, if only for a brief time. With America's constant reiteration of the superiority of whiteness, the avid search on the part of the black masses for some key to chromatic perfection is easily understood. Now, it would seem that science is on the verge of satisfying them. Dr. Yusaburo Noguchi, head of the Noguchi Hospital of Beppo, Japan, told American newspaper reporters in October 1929 that as a result of 15 years of painstaking research and experiment, he was able to change a Negro into a white man. While he admitted that this racial metamorphosis could not be effected overnight, he maintained that, given time, I could change the Japanese into a race of tall, blue-eyed blondes. The racial transformation, he asserted, could be brought about by glandular control and electrical nutrition. Even more positive is the statement of Mr. Bella Caddy, an electrical engineer residing in New York City, who in a letter dated August 18th, 1930, and addressed to the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, said in part, Once I myself was very strongly tanned by the sun, and a European rural population thought I was a Negro, too. I did not suffer much, but the situation was disagreeable. Since that time, I have studied the problem, and I am convinced that the surplus of the pigment could be removed. In case you are interested and believe that with the aid of your physicians we could carry out the necessary experiments, I am willing to send you the patent specification. And my general terms relating to this invention, the expenses are, so to say, negligible. I wish to express my sincere thanks and appreciation to Mr. V.F. Calverton for his keen interest and friendly encouragement, and to my wife, Josephine Schuyler, whose cooperation and criticism were of great help in completing Black No More. George S. Schuyler, New York City, September 1st, 1930. And we'll move on to the introduction. When George S. Schuyler's novel Black No More was originally published in 1931, it raised quite a fervor among black intellectuals. The Harlem Renaissance was coming to an end, and everything that cultural movement represented, Schuyler appeared to have attacked in his novel. Indeed, if nothing else, Schuyler's work can be regarded as a satire of Negro life in the United States during the 1920s, for almost all of the major black cultural and political figures and activities are satirized in Schuyler's cantankerous prose. Dr. Shakespeare Agamemnon Beard, W.E.B. Du Bois, the National Social Equality League, the NAACP, of which Du Bois was a founder. I still never learned his name or how to pronounce it correctly. The Dilemma, the NAACP's Journal, The Crisis, Sandtop, Licorice, and the Back to Africa Society, Marcus Garvey, and the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and other less important customs and conventions Schuyler apparently believed unbecoming of black people. Dunbar University, Drusky River Agricultural Institute, the Uncle Tom Memorial Association, the Ethiopian True Faith, Washfoot Methodist Church, etc. The total effect is a novel which is undoubtedly every bit as disturbing in these days of renewed black pride and black power as it was coming at the end of the new Negro movement. For the thesis of Schuyler's book appears to be that the new Negro will be white or nothing at all. Schuyler has always held beliefs unpopular to the majority of black people in the United States, and certainly many whites find his opinions equally abhorrent. In Black No More, black is indeed not beautiful. The entire story tells us this, chronicling a black physician's discovery of a way to change black skin into white, and the subsequent ramifications in the United States over a period of years during which almost every black person undergoes this treatment. There is no pride in being black, and certainly little indication that the black person in America has anything culturally his own worth holding on to. When asked how the transformed Negro will be able to hide his dialect, i.e., those cultural traits which are not simply related to skin pigmentation, Dr. Crookman replies, there is no such thing as Negro dialect. Except in literature and drama, it is a well-known fact among informed persons that a Negro from a given section speaks the same dialect as his white neighbors. In the South, you can't tell over the telephone whether you are talking to a white man or a Negro. The same is true in New York when a northern Negro speaks into the receiver. I have noticed the same thing in the hills of West Virginia and Tennessee. The educated Haitian speaks the purest French, and the Jamaican Negro sounds exactly like an Englishman. There are no racial or color dialects, only sectional dialects. The idea here is essentially the same as that which Schuyler expressed in an article entitled The Negro Art Hokum in The Nation in 1926, in which he denied the existence of any Negro art in this country, stating, The Afro-American is merely a lamp-blacked Anglo-Saxon, negating the belief in an African heritage. Schuyler went on to state, it is sheer nonsense to talk about racial differences between the American black man and the American white man. In the homes of the same cultural and economic level, one finds similar furniture, literature, and conversation. How then can the black American be expected to produce art and literature dissimilar to that of the white American? The week after Schuyler's article appeared in The Nation, Langston Hughes published in the same magazine an article which has since then often been called his most significant essay, The Negro Artist and the Racial Mountain. Hughes' thesis is, of course, diametrically opposed to Schuyler's. Nordic manners, Nordic faces, Nordic hair, Nordic art. A very high mountain indeed for the would-be racial artist to climb in order to discover himself and his people. Hughes continues, there is sufficient matter to furnish a black artist with a lifetime of creative work. And in his conclusion, which was to become a key statement of the new Negro movement, Hughes stated, we younger Negro artists who create now intend to express our individual dark-skinned selves without fear or shame. If white people are pleased, we are glad. If they are not, it doesn't matter. We know we are beautiful and ugly too. The tom-tom cries, and the tom-tom laughs. If colored people are pleased, we are glad. If they are not, their displeasure doesn't matter either. We build our temples for tomorrow, strong as we know how, and we stand on top of the mountain, free within ourselves. Such beliefs appear to be anathema to the author of Black No More. Schuyler himself has referred to Black No More as a satire on the American color phobia. If it is this, it is also a plea for assimilation, for mediocrity, for reduplication, for faith in the white American dream, which Schuyler refers to as chromatic emancipation. As we have already noted, hardly a page passes by without some aspect of Black American life being satirized or attacked. Some of these passages are amusing and I suppose harmless. More often, however, the voice of Schuyler's bitterness is clearly apparent. In regard to Black-owned businesses, for example, Schuyler states, in a passage which begins innocently enough, the refrain was that Negro business, always anemic, was about to pass out entirely through lack of patronage. Mr. Spelling had for many years been the leading advocate of the strange doctrine that an underpaid Negro worker should go out of his way to patronize a little dingy Negro store instead of going to a cheaper and cleaner chain store, all for the dubious satisfaction of helping Negro merchants grow wealthy. As the story grinds to an end, one is reminded that at least one Black American novelist treating a similar theme took advantage of all the things Schuyler ignored in Black No More. The novel is William Melvin Kelly's A Different Drummer, which also ponders the importance of the Black Americans' racial culture, satirically presenting a story similar to Black No More. The reduction of the Black population is a part of the United States. The sounds of a different drummer are clearly what George S. Schuyler has marched to down through the years, keeping his beliefs relatively unchanged. The American dream, which Ralph Ellison would call the American whitewash, the communist threat, conservatism, these are the causes which Schuyler has extolled year after year in hundreds of editorials and syndicated articles in his column, Views and Reviews in the Pittsburgh Courier and other important newspapers and magazines. In his autobiography, Black and Conservative, 1966, Schuyler's self-portrait is that of a man continually walking further apart from the beliefs of his fellow Black Americans, ridiculing both their failures and their successes. Random samplings. The American Dream, 1950. The cumulative effect of these broad, continued, and statesman-like efforts has been improvement of racial relations in geometrical progression. Thus, the gains in the past 10 years have far surpassed those made in the previous 30. This explains not only the social, economic, and educational well-being of the colored minority, but the latter's continued and unsurpassed loyalty. American Negroes understand far better than Soviet propagandists that in the American system lies the hope of all submerged people who have the ability and determination to rise to the full stature of free men. African Independence, 1966. There was not a single one of these African countries prepared for independence, educationally, socially, economically, or spiritually. Civil Rights, 1966. From the beginning of the so-called Negro Revolution and the insane antics identified with it, I had taken the same position editorially and in my column that I had throughout the years. I had opposed all of the marches on Washington and other mob demonstrations, recognizing them as part of the red techniques of agitation, infiltration, and subversion. The objective of the civil rights activities is clearly to inhibit the police so severely that they will be over-tolerant toward nuisance demonstrations that can lead to open rebellion. Dr. Martin Luther King's Nobel Prize, 1966. King was quite undeserving of any prize as an apostle of peace. Either globally or domestically, his entire activity was to the contrary. Watts, 1966. Like all similar outbursts, due to the long campaign of incitement and dire predictions by the organized claque of the civil rights agitators, it is undoubtedly a basic nature of man to criticize, especially when ideas are contrary to his own. It is an easy matter to attack George S. Schuyler's beliefs as outdated, archaic, or as Uncle Thomas, as he himself realizes he has been branded. Yet the issue is not quite that simple. There are times, granted as they are, few in number, when Schuyler's writing gives the impression that he might have moved in another direction. Writing about African dance, for example, in his second novel, Slaves Today, 1931, Schuyler commented, Africa loves to dance almost every night when the tropical moon illuminates village streets as if they were lighted by arc lights. The variously pitched drums top out their intricate rhythm, and the close-packed crowd shuffles, leaps, and hops to exhaustion. Few forms of entertainment prove superior to the African dance in all of its variations. The roll, tap, and boom of the drums sends peculiar tingles over the body. The inhibitions of industrial society drop gradually from even the most civilized person until he also wants to join the gyrating, stamping black folk. The dance, the drums, the horns, these musical instruments are ages old. They have come down from the dawn of humanity. They are part of our heritage. No wonder all humans are drawn to them. It would be easy, and some people would perhaps say better, to ignore Schuyler's first novel, Black No More, as presenting a picture no longer relevant to the racial situation in the United States. Yet the United States is a nation which has not always been known for her candor and her humanitarianism, a nation at times verging on chaos and hysteria. It is this picture of political paranoia presented in Black No More which should remind us that literature, like history, is cyclical, and satire, like politics, is concerned only with the possible. Charles R. Larson, Boulder, Colorado, June 1970. Since I'm approaching this novel with zero knowledge of um, Schuyler himself or the Harlem Renaissance or any of that, I have no clue what to expect there. But there you go. Apparently, Schuyler was a conservative and he was against civil rights and things like that. So we'll see what this speaks to us as. All right, that's all. Goodbye, bro. Goodbye.